Reaction continues tonight to the 50% tariffs U.S. President Donald Trump announced Monday. In a statement, President and CEO Derek Neiber of the Forestry Product Association of Canada writes in part, "Tariffs on the very materials used to build homes, renovate properties, and support North American construction supply chains will only make housing more expensive for American families. These actions will increase costs on our American neighbors, full stop."
Canada supplies almost all of the softwood lumber that American builders depend on. There is no other source anywhere close to the price. Washington just raised the tariff anyway. Canadian mills are already finding buyers in Europe and Asia who pay full market value. Meanwhile, American families are about to discover exactly what that tariff added to the cost of a new home. Donald Trump signed proclamations imposing 50% tariffs on Canadian wood furniture and other wood-related exports measures layered on top of a softwood lumber duty structure that had already reached an effective combined rate of nearly 35%. Canada supplies roughly 85% of all U.S. softwood lumber imports. American sawmills operate at approximately 64% capacity and cannot scale to replace that supply for years. The United States is short an estimated 4.5 million homes. And every one of those numbers now compounds against the others. The lumber tariff structure American builders face is not a single rate, it is a stack. The Commerce Department more than doubled anti-dumping and countervailing duties on Canadian softwood in 2025, taking the combined AD-CVD rate from 14.5% to approximately 35%. On October 14th, 2025, a separate 10% Section 232 national security tariff took effect on lumber imports. In April 2026, a preliminary Commerce Department review reduced the AD-CVD component to 24.83%, holding the effective combined rate at 34.83%. Now the July 20th proclamations add 50% duties on wood furniture and related manufactured wood products, extending the tariff burden from raw framing lumber into the finished goods that American homebuilders and homeowners purchase. The Woodworking Network's reporting on the July 20th announcement documented the specific scope of the new measures across the wood products sector. The 50% rate applies to wood furniture and other Canadian wood exports beyond the softwood dimensional lumber already covered by the AD, CVD, and Section 232 structure. That extension matters commercially because it captures value-added wood products, cabinetry, millwork, engineered wood components, and finished furniture that Canadian manufacturers have been shifting production toward specifically to escape the commodity lumber tariffs. The July 20th measures close that escape route. The National Association of Home Builders has calculated that combined tariffs and duties on building materials add at least $10,900 to the construction cost of a typical new American single-family home. That figure was published before the July 20th wood furniture tariffs took effect. The Canadian Chamber of Commerce projects the combined tariff burden could add as much as $14,000 per new American home by 2027 if current rate structures persist. A standard American wood frame house requires 15,000 board feet of framing lumber, 2,200 square feet of softwood plywood, and 6,800 square feet of oriented strand board, every unit of which is now priced in a market where the dominant import source carries a tariff burden approaching 35% on the lumber itself and 50% on manufactured wood goods. The supply arithmetic that leaves American builders without alternatives is documented in trade data. Canadian softwood cleared the US border at approximately $165 per cubic meter in Q1 2026. German, Swedish, and Brazilian lumber, the next available sources averaged between $274 and $307 per cubic meter. Canada supplied 84% of all U.S. softwood lumber imports in that quarter, even as total import volume fell 24% year over year. American builders are not choosing Canadian lumber out of habit. They are choosing it because the alternatives cost 60 to 85% more per cubic meter before any tariff is applied. Domestic American production cannot close the gap on a timeline relevant to current construction. American sawmills operate at approximately 64% of installed capacity. Scaling that upward requires federal timber harvest permits, triggering National Environmental Policy Act review processes that run 18 months to several years, mill construction requiring hundreds of millions in capital per facility, and specialized forestry workforce recruitment in a sector that has been contracting for decades. Industry analysts place meaningful new domestic supply at 2029 or 2030 at the earliest. The tariffs took effect in 2025. The housing shortage exists now. The housing market data documents what those costs are already producing. Full year 2025, single-family housing starts fell 7% to 943,000 units, the weakest annual result since the pandemic recovery. U.S. framing lumber prices surged 30% off December 2025 lows. Zillow estimates the American housing shortage at 4.5 million homes. A market already short 4.5 million units reduced its annual construction pace by 7% during the first full year of elevated lumber tariffs. Every year construction costs stay elevated by $10,900 per home is a year the marginal buyers who need new affordable housing, most first-time buyers, younger families, lower income households, remain priced out entirely. The Canadian forest sector's exposure to the July 20th measures is documented in CTV News reporting describing the tariffs as another blow to an industry already absorbing sustained American trade. Pressure. Canadian sawmills, forestry workers, and the communities across British Columbia, Quebec, Ontario, and Atlantic Canada that depend on wood products manufacturing face reduced American market access at precisely the moment the sector's export economics were already compressed. Canfor permanently closed. 2. Mills in South Carolina in August 2025. Removing 350 million board feet of annual capacity from the North American supply chain, American Mills, closed by a Canadian company in a tariff environment that was supposed to protect American production. Prime Minister Mark Carney's response to the July 20th proclamations characterized them as a direct violation of CUSMA and part of a continuing pattern of unilateral American trade actions. Canada has made a series of detailed and comprehensive proposals to resolve this dispute and to modernize CUSMA. We stand ready to intensify those discussions in the coming weeks, Carney said. The measures take effect 30 days from signing. That window is the negotiating period Carney and Trump agreed to use following their July 21st phone call.